MJF had some comments. I forget what show it was on. That he did have serious
He was
thoughts
talking with Sports Illustrated. I
with
have
Sports
the
Illustrated.
quotes
Oh
right here.
yes, let's go.
He was asked in an interview with Sports Illustrated if WWE was an option for him before he returned to AEW, but that he ultimately decided to return to AEW, obviously because they paid him a ton of money. He said, "Of course there was. Am I going to get into the weeds? No. At this point, this move, aka staying with AEW, was what made most sense for me. I'm making a ton of effing money. As far as when the contract ends, that's nobody's business but my own."
He's
Um,
right.
so uh yeah, I think that what I wish I guess that we could have gotten from that is like, I mean, him saying I'm not going to get into the weeds of it, that kind of could say it, but I wish we would have known a little bit more if WWE actually reached out to him during that period, instead of it just being like MJF saying, "Yeah, it was an option." Okay, well, yeah, it's going to be an option for you. You know what I mean? Like
They
you're
put himself in
MJF
that
at
way.
this point.
Yeah.
So it's like even if they didn't reach out, it would be an option. I'm just curious if they did. Like that would be more interesting to me to know if Triple H did make the call and inquire about like, "Hey, where you at?" blah blah blah. I still think MJF is probably going to get there eventually. I think it would be a huge loss for him. Like, I would almost feel for him if he never got to WWE, simply because he's tried so hard in the past and he grew up such a huge WWE fan. Like, I would feel for him if he never did it, you know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if it
I
was his
agree.
own decision, I feel like it's just one of those things where it's like it was your childhood dream. And even if your childhood dream has changed a little, because things have changed since you got older, I don't know. It would just kind of make me feel bad. Like,
It's
I don't
gonna
know.
happen at some point.
He's still
MJF
young.
needs to, and what he's doing, he kind of said it. You mentioned something in one of the quotes to Sports Illustrated. He said something about Ric Flair and how he was, the face of wrestling
Mhm.
outside of WWE, and that's basically what he is. He's spot on when your name is being chanted at WWE's biggest event of the year. It may be on some, talk show of it, whatever, but it's during WrestleMania week and
People thought
fans
he
are
was
chanting.
gonna be there.
Yeah, we talked about it at World. You were
Yeah.
like, you asked me
I was
that.
like, "What if MJF is showing up? What if MJF shows up?"
So that was not in he's
Imagine.
not. That's what I'm saying. Like imagine, and he not a WWE guy. Now has not been a main roster guy, only
Yeah.
backstage and local talent. So I'm with you there. I would love to see him in WWE. I think it is going to happen. And I mean, for God's sakes, he paid homage to Triple H with the
Yeah, and
jean
he
jacket. Like,
confirmed that. Yeah, he
oh yeah,
confirmed
he
it.
confirmed it without saying it verbatim. But yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think
that's what I'm saying,
I
Sarah.
still think that it's one of those things where it kind of goes back to what I said about Christian and his interview with Chris Van Vliet, where he felt like he needed to go to TNA to prove that he could be this big star and could do it by himself and whatever, so that and his ultimate goal was to do that and then come back to WWE. I feel like in a lot of ways, for people who are very clearly, and I say this in a respectful way, to me, a guy like MJF is bigger than AEW, you know, and I feel like he's too big for AEW. To me, it feels like he's using it as a launching pad to eventually get to WWE. But by that time, it's like he's already a household name or household initials. He's already well established. He's already been a good guy, bad guy here, this and that. He's been tag team champion. He's been a world champion. Like he's already so established in the industry, but by the time he gets to WWE, it's not going to be like, oh, who's that guy? Or, should we pay him money? You know what I mean? Like, I think that that's kind of what he's doing.
I
Um,
have a question for you.
or at least I assume, because, like I said, I think that he screams WWE guy to me in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways, even if he does have a lot of AEW
Lore to him.
threads to him. Yeah.
I I have a question for you. Do you think that he goes to Hollywood before WWE?
I think if we knew how long his AEW contract was, I could answer that.
I could see him making a pit stop in Hollywood, then going to WWE. So
I
he
think it depends on how long his contract is, though, because he's not going to want to necessarily go to WWE when he's like 37. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's true.
so I think it
Mhm.
depends, but he can also dabble in Hollywood. Like he can do some movies or he can do a couple television shows that don't take a lot of long-term commitment. He can still do that and be
Yeah,
active in wrestling every single week. So, I mean, Tiffany Stratton just signed to an agency, so it's
she
like,
did Pentagon, I think it is, right?
I could see that happening.
All these contract talks, before we get into the next topic, all these contract talks, and now the people from Fightful are saying who they're represented by. This is like so cool that to me it feels that wrestlers are getting that free agent treatment that professional sports
Well, that's
don't
why I
get.
feel that's what I was gonna say when MJF says, "Oh, like the details of his contract are no one's business." I'm like, well, like if you want to be kind of treated like the NFL or something like that, then like kind of is our business. You know what I mean? Like not necessarily our business, but if you want it to be like you guys are a legitimate sport like the NFL, NBA, NHL, whatever, it's like, well, it's you can go and access their contracts easily. I get that there's a little bit more secrecy in professional wrestling because you don't want to, people didn't know that MJF was looking for a new contract at this point. Like no one knew that, like, oh, he could have left to go to WWE. You kind of had a feeling like it could have happened, but you didn't really know because you didn't know all the details of what was
Mhm.
going on. So I think they kind of like that aspect of it. At least some of them do.